Good morning, students. In today's lecture, we'll start with the second paper, and your second book is Imprints, which is a course book on prose and fiction. And the first essay prescribed in your course is Francis Bacon's Of Studies. Now, Francis Bacon is known as the father of English essays, and today he is remembered basically for his essay. His fame rests on his essays. And the first collection of his essays was published in 1597. The main quality of his essays, or you could say his essays, are known for their epigrammatical quality. That is, each sentence of his essay stands by itself. Apart from his essay, he has also written other works such as The Advancement of Learning, Novum Organum, The History of Henry VII, etc. Now, I have divided this essay into three parts. In today's lecture, we'll only cover half of the essay, and in next lectures, I'll discuss the rest of the essay. So, today, I'll only discuss first, second, and the third paragraph, and in that, Bacon states what are the chief uses or what is the main purpose of studies, and he also says what how many types of men are there and how they use the or how they basically how they derive knowledge, how they use studies. Now, in the very first line, Bacon says that studies serve for delight, for ornament, and for ability. So, Bacon says that there are basically three main functions of studies. The main purpose of study is in delight, that is, in joy or happiness, for ornament. Ornament here it stands for embellishment of language. Here it doesn't mean jewelry or that. It means for embellishment of language and for ability. Ability you all know. Now further he elaborates on these terms. फर्स्ट लाइन में बेकन कहते हैं कि स्टडीज़ का जो मेन यूज़ है वो डिलाइट में, ऑर्नामेंट में और योग्यता एबिलिटी में है. नाउ ही सेज for delight, the chief use for delight is in privateness and retiring. So now you need to understand this concept that how studies are helpful or how they give you joy. Now you could if suppose you are alone, you are not or you don't want to be in the company of your friends. At that time, books can be your best friends, and at that time you can best utilize you can properly utilize your time by reading books. And by doing so, by reading a good book, it will definitely give you joy, it will give you happiness. Now for ornament is in discourse. Now discourse is conversation. Now the chief use in conversation, or you could say, if a man is learned, if he is knowledgeable, then it comes automatically by the way of talking. Okay, एक learned man में, पढ़े लिखे आदमी में और एक अनपढ़ आदमी में जो डिफरेंस है वो उसके बोलते ही पता चल जाता है, उसकी कॉन्वर्सेशन से ही पता चल जाता है. सो इफ़ अ मैन इज़ लर्नड, इफ़ ही हैज़ नॉलेज, then it will come automatically by his words. You could easily you could clearly notice a change. And for ability is in the judgment and disposition of business. Now disposition of business is, you could say, management of business. Now he says why ability. It works as it works as overall development for your personality. If we are learned, if we are knowledgeable, then studies, basically they are, their chief use is in the is in the management, or how we manage our day to day affairs, how we deal with the situation, how we deal with the problem. जो एक लर्नड मैन होगा, जो एक नॉलेजेबल मैन होगा, वो अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स को अच्छे से सॉल्व कर पाएगा, अपनी डे टू डे लाइफ को अच्छे से मैनेज कर पाएगा. So, Bacon says that their chief use is in light, in ornament, and in ability. Now he says, for expert man can execute and perhaps judge of particulars one by one, but the general counsel and the plots and marshalling of affairs come best from those that are learned. Expert man here means expert in a particular field or a professional man. Execute is to carry out. Now Bacon says that if a man is professional or if he is expert in a particular field, he'll only have the ability to deal with the particular situation. एक ही सिचुएशन, अगर कोई एक्सपर्ट मैन है अपनी फील्ड का, अपने प्रोफेशन का, तो वो एक ही चीज़ को डील कर सकता है, एक ही चीज़ में वो एक्सपर्ट हो सकता है. बट ही सेज द जनरल काउंसिल, काउंसिल मीन्स एडवाइस, but he says the general advice, plots and marshalling of affairs. Now it means to how to solve the problem, marshalling of affairs, how problem solving come best from those that are learned. But if a man is learned, if he has knowledge, then he knows all the pros and cons of the situation. So a learned man is always better than a professional or an expert man, because he has he has knowledge. Apart from that, he know all the possibilities. So that's why Bacon says that a learned man is always in advantage, because he knows the situation, he knows how to deal with it, and he deals with it properly. Now in next line, Bacon says to spend too much time in studies is sloth. Sloth is laziness. Now he say if you are only engaged in studies, if you are not engaged in other activities, then that person will be considered as lazy. To use them too much for ornament is affectation. Affectation आडंबर को बोलते हैं. Now if you are showing off your knowledge, if you're too much proud of your knowledge, then you will be considered as a person who is not you could say who is false, or you could say who is not grounded. To make judgment wholly by their rules is the humor of a scholar. Now, to make judgment, if suppose you seek an advice from a person and that person gives you advice only according to the bookish knowledge, then it will be considered as humor of a scholar. To explain that in Hindi, I would say that अगर हम बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम पढ़ाई में लगाते हैं या स्टडीज़ में ही लगा देते हैं, तो हम आलसी कहलाएंगे. अगर हम बहुत ज़्यादा अपनी नॉलेज का यूज़ करें, तो ये एक आडंबर होगा. और अगर हम जजमेंट, अपने जो जजमेंट है, कोई भी हमें डिसीजन लेना हो, वो सिर्फ किताबी ज्ञान के आधार पर लेंगे, तो ये एक तरह से ह्यूमर ऑफ अ स्कॉलर कहलाया जाएगा. They perfect nature and are perfected by experience. Now here, this is the main word, what you could say. That's why Bacon is considered, or his essays are considered to be full of pragmatic knowledge, practical knowledge. He has not written idealistic essays, but his essays are full of practical wisdom. He says that of course studies are helpful, but it needs to be suited, or it needs to be blended with experience. ओके, एक्सपीरियंस जो है वो भी काम की चीज़ है. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम सिर्फ अपने किताबी ज्ञान के आधार पर डिसीजंस ले रहे हैं. हमारा एक्सपीरियंस भी काम आना चाहिए. Now he gives an example and he says natural abilities are like natural plants. हमारी जो टैलेंट है, हमारी जो innate capabilities हैं, those are like natural plants that need pruning by, pruning is cutting or trimming, that needs pruning by study. He says कि जैसे कि natural plants होते हैं, उनके प्रॉपर डेवलपमेंट के लिए कटिंग और ट्रिमिंग इज रिक्वायर्ड. Similarly, even our capabilities, our talent, our natural abilities, even they are also like natural plants. And studies are useful for the, or you could say studies are helpful for our overall development. हमारी जो नेचुरल एबिलिटीज़ हैं, जो स्टडी है, स्टडीज़ उनमें और भी निखार लाती है. And studies themselves to give four directions too much at large, except they be bounded in by experience. And studies are themselves useful, but experience is also something, and they must be linked with the experience. So suppose if you need to take any decision, then experience is also required, and your talent, your abilities are also required. Now, Bacon says that crafty men condemn studies, simple men admire them, and wise men use them, for they teach not their own use, but that is the wisdom without them and above them, won by observation. In these lines, Bacon says that there are three types of persons. Now, crafty is cunning. They are cunning persons who hate studies, who don't like to study at all. Then there are simple persons who admire them. They know the importance of studies, they know that how much beneficial studies are, but they don't use them. Then there are then there is other category, that is of wise men, and only wise men use them. Only they use studies, वो ही studies का भरपूर फायदा उठा पाते हैं. कौन? जो लोग wise होते हैं. For they teach not their own use. Who teach not? A book will not tell you how to use it. एक बुक तुम्हें आके कभी नहीं कहेगी कि मुझे ऐसे यूज़ लो, या मेरे जो ये नॉलेज है उसे यूज़ करो तुम. ये हम पे डिपेंड करता है कि हम एक बुक को पढ़ के उससे क्या सीखते हैं, और उस ज्ञान को हम किस तरह से अप्लाई करते हैं अपनी डे टू डे लाइफ में. Okay, so book will not tell you how to use it. It depends on your wisdom. It depends on your knowledge, that how you apply it into your life. I think that's all for today. I think we should stop here. And in the next lecture, we'll start with the next line, read not to. That's all for today. Thank you.